So it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for giving me a few moments to talk to you about Technovations disrupting various industry sectors. Obviously, we're talking about the future, and in talking about the future, one should keep in mind the old adage that making predictions is very difficult, especially of the future. And this has been proven to be true time and again. We see it in innovation, in aviation, when Lord Kelvin said that he doesn't put much stock in heavier-than-air flight, and of course 33 years later he was proven wrong. Octave Canute in 1910 said that there's no commercial viability for aviation, and only 16 years later he was proven wrong. When it comes to communication, Lee DeForest said that television doesn't have a future, and it turns out that 2 years later he was proven wrong. And then when it came to space technologies, the Astronomer Royal in 1956 said that space travel is utter bilge, only to be proven wrong 1 year later. The message of this is that the time between prediction and being proven wrong is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. So, with that caution in mind, what can we say with some certainty? What we can say is that more than ever before, technology is changing all aspects of how people live. There is no human activity today that is not some way affected by technology. Technology has always brought change to the world, positive and negative, has created dangers. Predicting exactly how things will change is of course impossible, but predicting that change and dislocation will occur is a certainty, and this is not new. When Gutenberg invented movable type, the world changed. Books suddenly were published in the vernacular. Latin was replaced as the language that was spoken by scholars. Authorship suddenly mattered. Pages were numbered. Communication changes. One could even say that revolutions were fomented because of the availability of written literature. And what's interesting is that Gutenberg, like all entrepreneurs, thought he knew what the world wanted. That's why he printed Bibles, because he said, what book would be more desired than a Bible? And he was absolutely wrong. He actually went bankrupt. His brother-in-law bought his equipment, and it turns out that indulgences is what the world wanted. And that's what actually made money. Let's talk about cars. There is a universal trend amongst all countries that as the per capita GDP increases, the number of vehicles in a society increases, at first linearly, and then it saturates out at around 850 vehicles per thousand population, 1,000 inhabitants in the country. India is on the beginning of this slope. Notwithstanding the traffic here in Bangalore, India right now does not have 850 vehicles per 1,000 inhabitants, but it's on the trend. What does that mean to have all these vehicles in a country? It means that people die. Imagine that every day, year-round, 17 mid-sized passenger airplanes carrying about 180 people crashed, killing everyone on board. Every day. That would be intolerable. But that's actually what happens today in the world in vehicle traffic deaths. About 1.2 million people are killed every year in traffic deaths. Over 150,000 in India, over 42,000 in the United States. It's the leading cause of death for children and young adults. 92% of the world's fatalities occur in middle-income countries, even though they only have 60% of the world's vehicles. More than half of all traffic deaths are amongst vulnerable and road users. And road traffic accidents cost most countries about 3% of their gross domestic product. So more vehicles, more deaths, more cost. What are we going to do about that? Well, I believe that self-driving cars that have been mentioned before in one of these speeches, in one of these presentations, is going to solve that problem. As an engineer, I don't think that's the case. I know that's going to be the case. Self-driving cars will, after all, be engineered in such a way that they will be better than human drivers. And so we will save millions of lives because of self-driving cars. And more than that, self-driving cars will bring all sorts of other benefits. They'll increase mobility for an aging population, and that's going to help reduce the cost of medical care and allow older adults to remain independent. Because they're programmed and tested and optimized for performance, we're going to decrease traffic jams. There will be less fuel consumption. They will increase human productivity because of the time that humans can spend in the cars doing something more useful. We'll no longer need parking spaces in cities because ride-sharing services will use their cars 24/7. And resources will be saved because why would you have to park a car if it's able to drive itself? It'll be used all the time. So the benefits are enormous. The lives saved are enormous. What's the problem? The problem is, and these are numbers for the United States, millions and millions of people in the United States, a country with 1/4 the population of India, are employed as drivers. Driving as a profession is one of the leading occupation in more than half of the US states. According to the American Trucking Association, in addition to the drivers, 8.5 million people are employed throughout the economy in jobs that relate to trucking activity. And then there's Uber and similar ride-sharing services. All these people are going to be put out of work. Millions of people are going to be put out of work. What are we going to do about that? What are they going to do? What's going to happen in societies when self-driving cars bring the benefits that they can bring? And it's happening now. This disruption isn't in the future. Waymo is logging 150,000 robo-taxi rides and 1 million miles a week. That's 150,000 rides a week that was not given by a human driver who would have been employed to provide those rides. And it's happening in other fields as well. In medicine, diagnosis is happening, is being advanced because of medical data. And you might say, okay, diagnosis, but certainly not surgery. And most recently at Hopkins, robots that simply watched videos learned how to perform surgery with the skills of a human doctor. So that's being disrupted. In education, this is a 14th century manuscript that shows Henry of Germany delivering a lecture to university students in Bologna. If you look at this picture, you will see that for many, many educational institutions, this is an accurate representation of a classroom today. Look at the front row. All the students are engaged and their books are open. Look at the back row. The students are talking to each other. One of the students is asleep. If this was a modern picture, there'd be only one thing different. This student would have an iPhone that they're looking at instead of being asleep. Education is being disrupted. In 2016 already, Georgia Tech introduced Jill Watson, an AI-based teaching assistant. The first time they introduced Jill Watson, they didn't tell the students that she was an AI. And I know from colleagues there that at the end of the semester, the students nominated her for a Best TA award before they were told that she was an AI, because they felt that she always answered the questions because she never sleeps. The disruption is happening now. Chegg is a company that you may or may not have heard about. It's an education technology company based in Santa Clara. It was supposed to provide homework help for students. Since ChatGPT, Chegg, their stock is down 99%. They've lost 500,000 subscriptions. That company is going away because of ChatGPT. This is a recent email I received from a colleague at Johns Hopkins, Rama Chalapa, one of our leading computer scientists, who was giving a course to the students on image processing. He gave his midterm to ChatGPT. It scored an A+. It produced the solution set for the class. Who are we teaching? What are we teaching? How are we assessing our students? Why are we teaching what we're teaching? These are profound questions that we need to answer. And it's beyond even education. In movies and television, some of you may remember that in 1977, Star Wars came out. And one of the characters there was Peter Cushing, was played by Peter Cushing. He played a character called Grand Moff Tarkin. And he reprised his role in Rogue One that was released in 2016. Peter Cushing once again played that Grand Moff Tarkin role. The only difference was that he had died in 1994. He was an AI. And so the entertainment industry is worried about what's going to happen to acting and actors in the age of AI. And which institutions are going to be responsible for this disruption? Yellow Cab never introduced Uber, and Capitol Records didn't create iTunes, and Marriott Hotels didn't create Airbnb, and Borders Books, whom you've probably never heard of, didn't create Amazon, and Rand McNally didn't create Waze. And so institutions that we think of as very powerful and important are going away. So what are the lessons that I would suggest that are very important to keep in mind? Technologies, advances in technology can empower individuals and place in the hand of individuals capabilities previously controlled by the institutions. When Gutenberg created the movable type to produce books, he suddenly took books away from the lord of the manor and the church and put it in the hands of individuals. And so institutions must understand that what they believe they control, or whether they think they have where they think they have an exclusive capability, is not the case. Technology changes the world in areas where we might have believed disruptive change is not possible. Changes that many may have believed will take years or decades can occur overnight. And societal and institutional dislocations and disruptions have consequences, and we must be prepared to lead and shape and respond to these. Some disruptions are good, some are going to be challenging. What are we going to do about all the people in the United States and in India and around the world who earn their salary through driving? This is going away, and it's going away quickly. At Hopkins, our response is to invest dramatically in AI and data science, not to try to avoid it, but to try to lead it. Our institution is investing at a scale that we believe will position us as the United States' leading epicenter of research and education dedicated to the application, the understanding, the collection, and the risks of data and the development of machine learning and artificial intelligence systems. We are hiring 150 new faculty members in AI, in machine learning, jointly between engineering and other parts of the university. We're building out 500,000 square feet of new space to house these people. We are investing in what we believe will be the preeminent academic computing infrastructure in the United States. And we're not only focused on the foundations of data science and AI, but we're talking about how this is going to transform medicine, how it's going to accelerate scientific discovery, how we're going to change engineering systems, how security and safety will be affected, and how policies will be made, and how policies will control AI and data systems and data science. So, in the future, in order to realize the promise and not the peril of AI and data science, we're going to need engineers and technologists, but we're going to need the humanists, the ethicists, the artists, the attorneys, the economists, the teachers, the natural scientists, the social scientists, the policy experts, the business leaders. We're going to all have to understand how we are going to deal with a world that is going to change dramatically. And these changes are going to lead to new laws, new policies, the creation of new industries, great benefits, but also great challenges. One of my favorite quotes is by the moral philosopher Stein, who said, "In a world of change, the learners will inherit the earth. The learned will find themselves beautifully equipped for a world that no longer exists." Thank you.
A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, to Mr. Ed Schlesinger. May I request